Here we are, Izzy Foston, senior, Olentangy Berlin, wrestler, 152 pound. I want to go back to districts. Day one, Friday night. You first win of the night, right? No problems there. You get into the quarterfinals. Second match of the night, Friday night, Derby districts. You drop one, right?
Yeah.
So we're 1-1 on the day. Stop right there. Tell me what you're thinking as you're going home, as you're going to bed at night. First of all, were you able to sleep?
I mean, I was fine. I knew what I had to do coming in. My coaches had reassured me I was going to be fine. I just trusted in them for the most part.
So you wake up the next morning. You're in Conci round 2. You don't necessarily know who your opponent's going to be, but by the time you hit the gym, you probably know who it's going to be. You're looking at the bracket, or maybe not. Did you look at the bracket?
I watched the match that I had to watch, and I knew I had the winner of that, so I just watched what they had to do.
So you ended up having 2 matches in a row of kids that you'd already beat before, right? So I guess my question is, how confident were you going into that Conci quarterfinal, I guess even the Conci semis?
Yeah, I was pretty confident. I knew if I did like a couple things that I perfected, and then keeping all the stuff that I did right into that match, I was going to be fine.
Okay, so I've built up enough drama. We're in the Conci semis. It's a go-to match, also known as the Bloodround. You're up 6-1 against your opponent. Tell us what happens next.
Okay, so 40 seconds left. We're on the edge of the mat, and he's starting to shoot me out of bounds. I start pushing back into him, and then he locks up an overhook and then throws me, and then I posted and dislocated my elbow.
So it happened on the post.
Yeah.
Okay, so I had you at 6-1. I'm freaking out. I'm watching the match. I'm knowing, though, that if he puts you on your back, you got the fight in you to be able to get off your back, I'm thinking. So 6-5 would probably be, or tied up, right? Possibly, right?
Yeah.
Next thing we know, whistle blows. Posted your shoulder, or your elbow is...
Yeah, it's dislocated.
Dislocated. Not looking good. From the angle I saw, I knew there was something wrong with it from the beginning. Or right then and there. And from that point on, you couldn't go on, right?
Yeah.
What are you thinking when you get yourself up off that mat, and in this case, you're brought over and you sit down into a chair? What are you thinking?
Initially, I was like, I knew I couldn't wrestle. I knew it was over at that point. I'd seen the other wrestlers start to walk on the mat. I'm like, is this really how it's gonna end? And then, I started thinking about, okay, now I have to focus on the future now, and the past is a past.
That's pretty clear-headed. We'll talk about the future in just a second, but I want to go backwards now, leading up to that. So if I wasn't clear, that was your one shot to get to the Schottenstein Center. That was your shot to go to states. You're a senior. It's your last shot to go. So let's lead up to that point. Let's start back a little bit further. What age did you start wrestling?
I initially started in 4th grade, so 10.
All right, talk to me a little bit more about your development. You, quite frankly, weren't the best wrestler on the mat at all times in your development. And I say that to try to encourage you to let everybody know what is it like to just continue on in the sport if you might not be even the starter.
Well, it just adds to your motivation. You want to reach the people you're looking at in the wrestling room and eventually surpass them. That's the ultimate goal in your head, and that's what gets you better.
So walk us through your high school years. Locally, we're in Lewis Center, Ohio. There was 3 high schools, and now there's 4. So you ended up at Olentangy Berlin. Let's talk about Berlin. Second year that it's been open, right? The first year it was a Division II school, so a middle-sized school, and this year you make the leap up to the large school. Tell us a little bit about your experience at Berlin, coaching staff, and everything that you've gone through there?
I think it's great. The coaching staff, obviously, I have Coach Heff. He's built a great culture, and he's made sure to include everybody. Celebrate everyone's success was one of his goals too, so no one felt left out. He made everyone make 3 personal goals, and that's like what we practice every day. He would generalize practice. He'd give us time outside to just like work on what we need to do, and I feel like that's what helped us a lot.
And going back to the original school that you started with before there was the split, Olentangy High School, different coach, probably a different vibe, different room. What kind of things did you learn at Olentangy High School?
I just learned, like when I initially went there, it was very fast paced, a lot of hard drilling, a lot of fast drilling for a long time, and it just helped build a mentality of discipline and all that.
Is it possible that between the both of them, Berlin and Olentangy, that you learned some of the tools that you think you're going to need to succeed at the next level?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you've put some time into the sport. How do you feel that you've grown in the sport from the time you started up until, as we sit right now?
I feel like I've made leaps and bounds, especially coming in like junior, senior year. I started to take it a little bit more seriously, knowing that I didn't have much time left.
So is it fair to say that being a state qualifier, a state placer, or a state champ was your goal?
Yeah, it's been my goal since junior year.
Okay. So you're putting in all this work, you've grown like crazy, you're not able to reach your goals, the disappointment hits. So now let's talk about your future. It actually crossed your mind while you're sitting there in that chair about the future that you have in wrestling?
Yeah, I mean, I'd come so close, and if the injury is bad enough, I knew that it would hinder me in the future, but luckily it didn't come out that way.
All right. So got a scholarship to wrestle at the next level for Campbellsville, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So obviously, I would say, I'm not speaking for the coaches, but an injury of this magnitude isn't going to affect the future of a scholarship that they would offer you, but something that you worry about, right?
Yeah.
All right. So tell us, was Campbellsville your number one choice? Were there more in the mix? Tell us about the recruiting process.
They were one of like the first schools I started talking to initially, and they were the first school that I had taken a visit to, and ever since then I had really liked the campus. I liked the feel, I liked the team and how they were all together.
So how did you get, I guess, how were you recognized? How did you get on their radar? What kind of effort did you have to make?
Well, in the summer, I was going to all different types of tournaments with different teams, and then I'd gone to one of their camps, and then I'd worked out with them. And then during football season, I went down again with a bunch of other recruits that they were looking at, and I started wrestling there too.
They're not a Division I school. They're not a Division II school. They're not a Division III school. They're an NAIA school, right?
Yeah.
There's opportunity out there for somebody like you that loves the sport. What kind of advice would you give to freshman, sophomore, a junior like yourself last year that's saying, I really want to continue with this sport. I got a passion for this sport. What kind of advice would you give that person?
I would say that it doesn't matter where you go as long as you enjoy where you're going, because you can go to the best schools like Penn State, Ohio State, and it could be miserable for you, where if you just look at all your options, you might find something more desirable for you and your learning outside of wrestling.
I'm glad you brought up learning, because learning is key. Wrestling is awesome, but I hate to be a bearer of bad news, you're not always going to be a wrestler. Mentality-wise, you always will, but physically you won't always be able to. You've got to go learn something that you're passionate about. So that's important too in picking a school, right?
Yeah.
So what field are you going into?
Computer science.
And obviously you found a fit down there, right?
Yeah.
Good. All right. All right. Well, Izzy Foston, I just want to say thanks. I want to say thank you personally because I've been able to be on the sidelines of the mat watching you grow, not only as a wrestler, but as a person. It's been a pleasure for me. So I want to say thank you to you for that. And I'm also excited for you that you're taking this opportunity to go to the next level. But I can't tell you how devastating it was for me to see what you went through after all the hard work that I've seen you put in and all the hard work that I know that you've done, that being this close to being a state qualifier. So personally, I just wanted to say good luck to you. I thank you for who you are. I can't wait to see what you're doing at the next level, and you got a fan in me.
Yeah, thanks.